So whether you've been spraying for years or just getting your very first sprayer, there is some universal truths when it comes to spraying. FlowZone, they sent me a brand new Typhoon 3, which I am so thankful for that. I've been using the Typhoon 2 for a number of years. Obviously you can see just how worn it is. And I have absolutely dialed in this sprayer and am confident and it is consistent. But how do I translate that into a new sprayer? So what are some things we need to think about a new sprayer or spraying for the first time? Let's talk about it. All right, so first things first, talk to any car guy and they'll tell you that adding stickers to your car gives your car about 5 extra horsepower. Well, that is also true with spraying. So I've got my DIY lawn coach sticker. We're gonna put that on this new sprayer because it will actually make your lawn 3 shades darker. So let's do that first. That's step number 1. All right, much better. So the first thing I wanna do is kind of run over kind of the changes, right? So I have the older model. This is the Typhoon 2. There's been a lot of changes and upgrades to the Typhoon 3. Most notably, the very biggest change that they made is now we have a pressure dial. I believe we have 5 different settings. You can dial this in. So obviously what I have currently is just an on-off switch. I have a high and a low. The first challenge for me is which one's high and which one's low and how much do I use. Again, we'll talk about that a little bit later in the video, but for right now, I just want to show you some of the different changes. They've upgraded the hose. This is a very nice looking hose. You can see how dingy and old this one is. This rubber feels really nice. They kind of changed some of the layout. I noticed the cap that goes on here seems to go on a little bit easier. When I was putting it together, I noticed that. The wand is still really high quality. They redid the clasping system in here. It feels really nice. I'm a huge fan of these wands. The quick disconnect, fantastic. Not a huge difference from what I'm used to now, but I like this clasping mechanism. Nice heavy duty back straps. This thing on your back feels amazing. Good padding. Of course, that's not really a huge difference from what I had before. Again, the biggest difference that you're gonna notice is this dial. And then also they now have the ability to be able to use different battery formats. Now they gave me, it comes with a 5 amp hour battery that works great. Just goes inside this door, works great. But just like a lot of the other electric equipment, if you already are in someone's ecosystem, and for me, I'm already in DeWalt's. I use a lot of the DeWalt power tools. And so DeWalt's battery, it won't fit in here. So they sent me this DeWalt adapter that I simply slide in here. And then I can now take this battery and put it inside there. Now, convenient for me, this door does end up shutting. Another thing that's really cool about this too, is it has a little USB here. So I could potentially charge my cell phone or radio or whatever off of this little adapter, which is kind of cool. That's pretty neat there. Another thing that they sent me was a bunch of different adapters as well. So when you look inside this little door, they gave me these little adapters so I can actually replace what's in there, so that if I wanted to use this DeWalt battery exclusively, instead of having to use this adapter, I could simply change this out for what's in there, and then my DeWalt battery would go in there every time. So the battery goes in there like that. The first thing we got to do, and the most important thing we got to do to this battery, is get it charged. They sent me a little charger, so recommend using that. So what we're going to do is get this on the charger while we keep making the video. So something else that they sent me, which I think is pretty cool, I've seen other people use these, I've never actually used one myself, is this a little protective cone. All right, so this goes in quick QDs to the wand here, just like this. And then say I was gonna let's say I wanted to turn this sprayer into a dedicated glyphosate sprayer or just an herbicide. I typically don't put herbicides inside this tank. I'll usually use a 2 or a separate 4-gallon container for that, because I don't like to mix other products like herbicides in with my fungicides and pesticides. So what I'll end up probably doing is converting this old sprayer into a glyphosate or herbicide sprayer. And this little thing makes it really nice because then I can set this directly over the weed, spray the target weed, and then be ensured that anything around it is going to be protected. So this is actually kind of cool. Again, I'll leave links to everything that you see down below in the description if you want to go check it out and check out pricing. I am an affiliate with them. I did sign up for the affiliate program, so I do get a little bit of a commission. So if you do choose to use those links, I will get a little bit of a kickback. Just a great way to support the channel and support FlowZone as well. I do want to mention they also have a brand new sprayer called a Zephyr, which is a lower PSI, would make a great option for a herbicide only type sprayer, or something you're going to use maybe just for pesticides, that kind of thing. It doesn't have the high PSI like these sprayers do. I think this one goes up to like 115 PSI, which is great for spraying volume, for broadcasting fertilizers and things like that, where that Zephyr is going to be a lower cost and be great for, you know, a dedicated herbicide or pesticide sprayer. All right, so something else that they sent me were some adaptive tips. I'll show you guys these tips, but they gave me this little 5-dial adjustable nozzle here. We'll give that one a try, and I'll show you guys using water what the spray pattern looks like. This looks like a straight stream, so maybe spraying up into the eaves of your house with pest control. And this one looks like a fan tip. Really different from the other ones they used to give you. The ones that they gave you in the Typhoon 2 were more of a pressure washer style. And the last sprayer tip that they give you is this brass adjustable one. Not a huge fan of these just because of the adjustability. When it comes to spraying, everything that we're doing is to try to be consistent and repeatable. And so anytime something can be adjusted or changed, you're changing the variable. So I'm not a huge fan of these for that reason, is because if this gets dialed in or turned or changed, that's obviously going to change the way that you spray. And the last thing that they sent me is they knew that I'm a big fan of the GCI Spray Buddy nozzles. So they sent me this. This is a 4-sprayer boom, which is actually kind of cool. I'm excited to see how this thing works. Comes with a dedicated wand, and it's got 4 sprayer heads that measure, I think this is like 48 inches across. I'll have to measure it just to make sure. But ideally, you know, you just spray, you hold this at knee height, and it sprays that swath that way, as opposed to the GCI sprayer that spreads a nice 8-foot swath this way. So this is a little bit different. So we're gonna test the spray pattern with water and see how all these spray and see what they look like. Now, the biggest piece of advice that I could give you anytime you get a new sprayer is to start out with using water. And that's exactly what I'm gonna use today to kind of see what these spray patterns look like and see how they work. And we're just gonna put water in the tank. We're gonna spray on the driveway just because I wanna see and kind of get a feel for the different pressure settings. And then later on, what I'm gonna do is put water in the tank, and then I'm gonna test out these different dials to see which dial setting works in comparison to my high and low setting. So again, I'll fill this up with water, I'll set it on a dial, see how far we go based on the different sprayer tips and nozzles, and that's really the only way that you can do it. So let's get to work. Another thing that they really upgraded on these is the ability to see where the fill lines was. It was kind of hard on this one. They had only marked 2.5 gallons, I believe, and then 4 gallons. And with this upgraded model, you can see right here on the side clearly where you're filling up. It's clearly defined: 1 gallon, 2 gallon, 3 gallon, and 4 gallons. That's really nice. Another piece of advice that I'll give you is get your sprayer up off the ground. I've got this little table here that I just set up. This is pretty hard to get on your back, especially when it's got 4 gallons of water in it. So I like to get it up on an elevated surface to make it easier to get up on my back and on my shoulders. So if you're wondering, does the old battery work in the new sprayer? It absolutely does. It fits right in there. Close the door. And then I was talking about the different dial settings. We've got a 1, we've got a 2, 3, 4, and then 5. So we'll have to play with that and see how the water pattern comes out. So the first thing I'm gonna do is put on the GCI nozzles, and we're gonna see what kind of spray pattern we get. Using the concrete is great because that'll tell me, you know, kind of give me a really good idea of the different pattern, and I can see it, and that's really what I'm looking for. So this is the first nozzle here. This is the GCI. This is the one that gives me the 8-foot wide swath. So I have a 50-inch mower deck, and so what's really convenient about this sprayer is when I walk down the middle of a stripe, the tip will throw to the edge of the opposite stripe and back to the edge of the opposite stripe. So it just keeps it really uniform. So when I'm walking down my lawn, it just keeps it really, really nice, and I know exactly where I'm spraying. So when I hold this down, let's put it on setting number 1. So this is the lowest setting. See the spray pattern. It is kind of windy here today, but it is basically throwing the width of my driveway. You can see the cone shape, right? Nice big water droplet. I like it. We always hold the sprayer nozzle at about knee height. And so I have to measure how wide this driveway is. But let's turn it on setting 2. Go a little bit higher. Now we're definitely throwing more volume out, and we're throwing beyond the driveway. This will be setting number 3. So this one, I can already tell you, sounds and feels like the high setting of my other one, my Typhoon 2. So we said on setting number 1, we were basically going from the edge of the driveway to the edge of the driveway, which is 9 feet, or let's say 8 feet. So there's my 8-foot swath right there that I was mentioning. All right, but when I use it on the 3rd setting, I was going about probably a foot beyond that. So we'll come out another additional foot, and I'll show you. We're probably getting about 12 feet. Yeah. So that's where we're getting that 12-foot swath. That sprayer, I'm getting a nice 12-foot swath, which is perfect, which is exactly why I like that sprayer tip. So now we're going to put on this tip. This is the one that actually comes with the FlowZone, just a standard spray tip. All right, so we are still on setting 3, so let's turn it down to setting 1. The difference between this sprayer and the GCI is this one you actually want to spray down towards the ground, and you can see the pattern. Where the GCI, you actually want to turn it. It seems kind of counterintuitive. You want to spray out like this, but you see the amount of drift that we're getting when we do that, so that's why we can't do that with this tip. That GCI sprayer buddy has a much bigger droplet size, and so that's why we can do that. This one you want to have pointed towards the ground, and you can see the sprayer pattern, right? That's maybe 2 feet wide. So if I was going to be spraying herbicides or something like that, maybe targeted herbicides, this is probably the sprayer tip that I would use. Again, this one is not made for spraying turf. You know, it's made for just spraying targeted plants. So if I wanted to come in and just spray a weed and just lightly coat it, I really like it. So again, we're on setting 1, and I love the spray pattern. This feels really good. We turn it up to setting 3, and to me, you know, here we go. We'll back up a little bit. So this is setting number 3. Still probably 2 feet wide, not any wider than when we're on setting 1, maybe a hair wider, but I would probably never use this sprayer tip on setting 3. It's just getting way too much drift, and that's just too much. So for this tip, I would certainly use the setting number 1. All right, so the next thing I want to test out is this sprayer boom. Again, remember this is a 4-head sprayer boom. The one thing I'll say right off the jump that I don't like about this, and FlowZone, if you're watching, pay attention. This should have a QD on it, a quick disconnect. So what I had to do to switch out the wand is unscrew this. Now certainly I could go out and buy something, but it would be nice if when you bought this, if it came included, so that I could quickly change from the regular nozzle to this nozzle with a QD. That would be really nice. So what we have here is all the nozzles are spraying down towards the ground. So again, we hold this about knee height. I've got it on setting number 1, and we just pull the trigger, and it puts a nice little droplet out. Looks really nice. Again, we said this is 8 feet wide, so this is probably a 7-foot wide swath that we're getting from the spray pattern. But I love, that's a really nice coating. Again, we're on setting number 1, so let's walk forward and just see how we're doing. All right, so we're gonna turn it up to setting number 3 and see what kind of spray pattern we get. Again, a nice fine mist. It is a little windy today, as I mentioned, so we're getting a little bit of drift. I'd also like to maybe see this be a little bit longer to get it a little bit further away from my body and even maybe a little bit closer to the ground. But still, we're only getting a 7-foot wide swath with this. but I like the coverage. It's very, very even, very uniform. I like this. Gives a good pattern. That's setting number 3. Let's turn it up to setting number 5 and see what kind of spray pattern we get. So this is on the high setting, and we're going from tip of the driveway to the tip of the driveway, which is 8 feet. This is a really nice spray pattern. I actually like this, other than being windy, which is another thing to note. It's not a good idea to be spraying when it's windy. You get a lot of drift. You could end up putting spray, you know, where you're not intending it for it to be. But again, we've only got water in the tank, so I'm not worried about that at all. But let's look at this spray pattern. Look at that. This is really nice. I like it. Again, the only thing that I don't like is it's got to have a little QD. That's got to be convenient. So would I consider switching from this to the GCI nozzle? Honestly, probably not. Biggest reason is with the GCI, I get a 12-foot swath. It's got a little bit bigger droplet size, and it's not as cumbersome. I mean, look at the size of this thing. It's just really, really big, really awkward. Where do I put it? Do I have room in my little storage room for that? And it's not convenient without having a QD. Sure, I could go out and buy something in the aftermarket, you know, and put something on there, but I mean, I like it. It's just probably not something that I'm going to utilize that fits my situation, but maybe it does fit yours. So there is a very easy way to determine which setting I need to use on my new Typhoon 3. So what we're going to do is we're going to take our Typhoon 2, we're going to put it on the low setting with the GCI nozzle, and we're going to run it for 1 minute, and then we're going to measure how much water it puts out. Then we're going to run it on setting the high setting, and we're going to measure for 1 minute how much water it puts out. We're going to write down both of those numbers. Then we're going to do the same thing for the Typhoon 3. We're going to run it on setting number 1 for 1 minute and see how that compares to the low setting of the Typhoon 2. And then we're going to put it on setting number 3 for 1 minute and compare the volume and the amount of water that it puts out on the setting number 3 for the Typhoon 3. Now remember, we already know our spray pattern is going to be the same, so now we just need to determine the amount of water that it's going to put out, the amount of carrier volume. If those are the same and the numbers are the same, which I haven't done this yet, but we're about to find out. If those numbers are the same, then we know that 1 correlates to 1 and 3 correlates to 2 on that one. I hope that makes sense, but let's get busy and it all makes sense here in just a second. All right, so the first thing we're gonna do is put the GCI nozzle on the sprayer. We're gonna put it down inside our bucket. We've got it on the low setting. We're gonna set a timer for 1 minute. And when I hit the timer, I'm gonna just hold the trigger, and here we go. For 1 minute of running the Typhoon 2 on the low setting, let's see how much water we put out. So the reason why I do it in this big Lowe's bucket is because I don't know how much water it's gonna put out, so we're just gonna measure it. So 64 plus 24 is 88 ounces. Is that right? 64 plus 24? Yeah, 88 ounces, right? So this time we're gonna do it on setting number 2. All right, so we ran that for 1 minute. Now let's see how much water setting number 2 put out on our Typhoon 2. We got 64. All right, so we got 64 plus 48, which is 112. So the Typhoon 2 on setting number 2, the high setting, puts out 112 ounces on the setting number 2. So now how does that correlate to the Typhoon 3? Well, we're gonna do the same thing and repeat it for the other sprayer. All right, so that is a Typhoon 3 on setting number 1. And if you remember, the Typhoon 2 on setting 1 put out 88 ounces. So let's see how much water we get out of this one running it for 1 minute. There we go, now we're at 64, and I can already tell you there's not gonna be enough in there because there's hardly any water left. All right, so we got 64 plus, call it 5, so 69 ounces, so not quite 88. So setting 1 versus setting 1 doesn't correlate. Let's go to setting 2 and see how that does. So let's do that one for 1 minute. So we've already got 64, and let's call it 34, so 98 ounces. So setting 2 gives us 98 ounces. which is slightly more than the 88 that we got before. So now we know setting 2 is gonna come out a little bit faster, but we should get a little bit wider swath. So that's where I always say, testing, or you don't calibrate the sprayer, okay? We're calibrating us to the sprayer. So the first time that I go to spray on setting number 1, I'm gonna have to really pay attention to my swath. Maybe I'm able to go a little bit wider. Maybe I need to walk just a tick faster as compared to what I'm used to, but that's okay. We're not calibrating the sprayer, we're calibrating us to the sprayer. Let's do setting number 3. All right, so that was setting number 3 on the Typhoon 3, and if you remember, the Typhoon 2 on the high setting did 112. So it would be really nice and convenient if this one was also 112. That would mean setting 3 matches up perfectly with setting number 2 on the Typhoon 2. 64 plus 64. Let's see, what is that? 45 is 109. Fudge factor, 112. Absolutely perfect. So we know setting 3 matches up exactly to setting 2 without me having to change anything. How awesome is that? So now I know when I spray, I'm gonna use setting 3 will correlate to setting 2 that I'm used to, and setting 2 on this sprayer will correlate to setting 1 on my Typhoon 2 with a little bit wider swath, and I'll probably have to pick up my speed a little bit. So I hope this helps make sense of all this sprayer nonsense. Again, if you've got a new sprayer, use water, that will help. And then run these bucket tests just like this, especially if you're used to one sprayer and you want to see how it compares to your new sprayer. I hope this helps. If you got a question, leave me a comment down below. Go get yourself a FlowZone sprayer. You won't regret it. My name is Devin. I'm the DIY lawn coach. I can't wait to see you in the lawn. Peace.